Hello, and thank you for joining us here for Cherry Blossom Home Edition. The Missouri Cherry Blossom Festival takes place every year, the last weekend of April, here in Marshfield, Missouri. And it's our mission to preserve American history and to present it in a unique and interesting way. This year, due to the pandemic, we have moved our festival online and hope that you will enjoy the interviews and panels that we have in store for you. Our next host for this special edition of Cherry Blossom Home Edition is Richard LaMotte. Richard has had a special place at the Cherry Blossom schedule every year, in the last few years becoming a co-moderator on many of the festival activities, and he's just so good to roll up his sleeves and volunteer and help in so many capacities. We claim him as one of our own. He does an outstanding job in whatever task that he's given for the Cherry Blossom Festival, and I know that you're going to enjoy the interviews that he has for you today.
Okay, welcome to the 2020 Missouri Cherry Blossom Festival at Home Edition. Tonight we are joined by some legendary ladies of television, and I'll go through and allow them to say hello, but first let me just tell you who we have on our screen. Cissy Wellman, Lulu Roman, Cammie Kotler, Allison Arngrim, Reen Christie, aka Tammy Beulah over there, and Dreama Denver. Did we get everybody? Yes, we did. Oh no, yeah, we got Cissy. Okay, so everybody's on. Hi ladies, how are you?
Good. Great.
Very well.
Great, thank you.
Cissy Wellman. Cissy in Los Angeles. She's an actress and a director known for movies like Outlaw Josie Wales. She played Cissy on the Waltons from 1973 to 1976. She also has made countless other appearances on TV classic shows. Since 2009, she's been working with challenged actors and actresses and special needs folks, developing their skills in the entertainment industry. And they've been doing that for a long time and having a couple shows a year and for their nonprofit, and that's really her passion. So we say hi to Cissy down there with her pink shirt on. Yes. Born in Dallas, Texas, Lulu Roman is best remembered for her time on the classic TV show Hee Haw. As an accomplished actress and singer, Lulu has now devoted her life to Christian music. And there's that beautiful redhead from the South, Lulu Roman.
Thank you.
Cammie Kotler was born in Long Beach, California. She's an actress and educator. She's best known for her role as the young redhead Elizabeth Walton, where she played in the series The Waltons. After acting and earning her degree from the University of California, Berkeley, Cammie became a teacher and now a principal of a charter school. Say hi to Cammie, everybody.
Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for including me. This is always such a fun group.
We're happy to have you. One of my favorites from the Cherry Blossom festivals over the years is everyone's favorite, Nasty Nellie. That's Allison Arngrim up there in the corner. Born in New York City, she is a New York Times best-selling author from her book, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, How I Survived Nellie and Learned to Love Being Hated. Allison Arngrim is best known to viewers for her worldwide portrayal of the incredibly nasty Nellie Olson on the much-loved series Little House on the Prairie. Her one-woman show, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, which started at the Club Fez in New York City in 2002, has become a worldwide phenomenon, and she can tell us all about that later on in the discussion. So let's say hi to Allison.
Hi!
All right. Reen Christie, aka Tammy. Do you want to go by Reen or Tammy for this discussion?
Tammy, it's fine.
All right. All right, Tammy, she played John Boy's high school love interest, Marsha Woolery, on the Waltons. Now a registered nurse, she wrote a wonderful, inspiring book called The Most Perfect Girl. And I think we can all take this time to applaud this registered nurse for everything that she does or has done for our health. So thank you so much.
That's sweet.
Originally from West Virginia, Dreama Denver. She's here to represent her late husband, the lovable Bob Denver, aka Gilligan from Gilligan's Island. She started the Denver Foundation in an effort to help families who needed support enriching lives of individuals with special needs. So let's say hi to Dreama.
Hi guys, so good to be here. Thank you for including me.
It's great to have all of you. Now, ladies, you're all legends, accomplished actresses, authors, educators, foundation, founders, chairs. But let's take a moment to give you praise and health again to our healthcare worker on our panel, Reen. Thank you for all you do every day for taking care of your patients, both past and present. So thank you again, Reen, for everything. I hope you guys are all safe and have everything that you need at your hospital.
Yeah, they're good.
All right, now, ladies, they say when you do one of these panels that you should do a pants check. So does everybody have on bottoms? That's the main question. Is everyone, Cissy says no. Everyone thumbs up? Okay. I heard that Amazon has sold more tops than they have bottoms recently since the pandemic. So, all right, Allison, let's start with you. Remind us of your journey.
And I have torn jeans, but I have on pants.
We believe you. Remind us of your journey to the prairie, how it all came to be.
Well, I grew up in a showbiz family. I totally grew up in Hollywood. You guys all know my mom. My mother, Norma Macmillan, was a famous voiceover artist, and she was the voice of Casper the Friendly Ghost, Gumby, Sweet Polly Purebred, Underdog's Girlfriend, and Davy of Davy and Goliath. And my father was a manager, and he worked for Liberace and for Debbie Reynolds and Susan Anton. So craziness, right in the heart of Hollywood. And I was an actress since I was, 5, 6 years old. I started working. But when I was 11, and around the time I wasn't working much, my father said I might not work again. I was just washed up at 11. I auditioned for Little House on the Prairie, and I had not read the books, and I didn't know there was an Ellie Olsen. And I got there, and this girl is awful. And I went in and I read it, and I was hired on the spot, which I don't know, think that's a compliment or what. But yes, I nailed it in the first audition, and I'm very proud.
We are sure happy you got it. Lulu, tell us what brought you into show business?
A good friend. I knew a cowboy named Buck. And that was Buck Owens, of course. And when they put the idea of the show together, they had a list. And on the list, it had one gorgeous blonde and one gorgeous brunette. And one boy next door type and one girl next door type and one fat dumb man and one fat dumb woman. Buck said, I got your girl, she's in Dallas. Called me up and there it went.
And on to Hollywood you went.
Never had any auditions, just flew in there and started filming.
All right, we have 3 Waltons alumni on board. Ladies, America lives right there on Walton Mountain with all of you. And tell us how you came to your respective roles. And we're going to start with Cissy.
Oh, okay. Now I'm unmuted. Hi. How did well, I got the role because my husband was Yancey, Robert Donner, who played Yancey. And dear sweet Earl loved my work as an actor. And he came to me one time, he said, how would you like to visit your husband in jail? And that's the very first one I did as Jane Aspen when I visited Yancey in jail. And I think it was like a season later when Earl came to me and said, would you like to really do this with us and really play? And I said, heck yes. And that's where Cissy Wellman becomes Cissy Walker. Not too big of a stretch. And that's how I became, I was sleeping with the actor. So, hey, that's how I got the job.
How about you, Cammie?
It was a big accident for me. My parents, we lived about an hour and a half away from Hollywood, and my parents really had no interest in me doing something so complicated as auditioning. But apparently at age 6, I pestered them about it. And so my mom figured, well, we'll indulge her for a few weeks and she'll get bored because she has a really short attention span. And then we can forget all about it. And basically in the first few weeks of auditioning, I got a part on The Homecoming, which was the first thing I'd ever done. And that turned into the Waltons, and the Waltons went for most of the rest of my childhood. So just a big accident.
A good accident, though. How about you, Tammy?
How did I come to be on the Waltons? Hang on. How did I come to be on the Waltons? Auditioned for a year for many, many roles. I auditioned for Earl Hamner on another movie he did, which was, I think it was The Way West. And then auditioned again for the first season of the Waltons. Went in with my country girl outfit, which was a flowery yellow dress, lots and lots of yellow everywhere. I think I looked more like a canary in a flower bed, actually, than a country girl. And when I walked in, Earl said, "Oh, what do we have here? A country girl." And I knew then I got it wrong, but he was so sweet. And I auditioned for that role. I went out in the lobby. They called me back in, had me read some more, went back out into the lobby. And then Earl came out and said, we're done, you have the part, and handed me a script. So that was my first television role. I had done a lot of plays and community theater before, but that was my first television role. And I didn't know anything about the show. I didn't know who was on it, had no idea until Richard Thomas walked up to me on the first day of shooting that I was even going to be in a scene with Richard Thomas. And about 30 seconds after I realized who I was going to be acting with, I realized I was going to kiss him today. So yeah, that was a good first day, right? First day on film, first day kissing a well-known, Oscar-nominated actor. It was a great time, great time. And so were all the remaining seasons.
Well, I have my Waltons album here that I have not open. This one's not open. So, you know me, guys, I'm a collector, and I've had this album since I was a kid. So we listen to it every year at Christmas. So, and that's my unopened one. So I just found it over there on the shelf when I was unpacking. I'm still unpacking some boxes here from our move over the winter time. So everyone's favorite castaway was the namesake for the show, Gilligan. Dreama, let's talk about your late husband, Gilligan himself, actor Bob Denver. And first of all, how did you meet? And what was he like?
Oh, well, we met. I was an actress, primarily a stage actress, and I was cast in a show with him. And when he arrived, it was funny. When I got to the theater for the first day of rehearsals, there was a marquee out front that said Bob Denver starring in Play It Again Sam, also starring Dreamer Perry, which was my maiden name. So Bob walked into rehearsal going, "What the heck is a dreamer?" And I raised my hand. I said, "That would be me." And honestly, I know it sounds corny, but we shook hands. Something electric happened, and we were together for almost 30 years from that day. And once I met him, all the acting I did was with him. Prior to him, I had worked with Sal Mineo and Gail Gordon and a lot of really wonderful names, Doug McClure, Al Lewis. But once I got with Bob, that was that. And then he was very different than people would imagine. He was not Gilligan. People always ask me if he was that funny at home. No, he was very quiet, an avid reader, really smart. And I know people don't connect intelligence with Gilligan, but he was extremely intelligent. My best teacher in my lifetime. He taught me so much and gave me really and truly the best almost 30 years of my life.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear. Allison, I said it before, and I've said it every year since meeting you. If ever there was a person who was ever so different from the character that she played on television, it is you. So how many times, and probably daily when you're out, do people come up and go, "Oh, I hated you, how nasty you were"?
It's amazing how hard some people took it. Yeah, and of course, I adore the show Gilligan's Island, and I actually went to a Gilligan's Island party when I was a little girl, and we were told to come in costume, and all the little girls went as Marianne and Ginger, except I went as Gilligan. loved him. And I knew he was smart. It's like, you can't play that unless you're a genius, man. So yeah, everyone thinks I'm evil. I have had people come up now, they will say, oh, I hated you. And I always say, oh, thank you, you're too kind. I did have a woman at an autograph show with the LA County Fair, and we had a autograph thing set up, and this woman actually walks into the tent. She doesn't ask for an autograph. She doesn't say good morning. She doesn't say hello. She walks up to the table, and she's visibly angry, like red in the face, smoke coming out of her ears, walks to the table, looks at me and says, I forgive you, and walks out. And she had held that in for like 30 years. This woman was so angry at me. And I was like, okay, that's TV, life TV. But no, people do, I hit a nerve. And whatever I was doing as Nellie, I mean, I was really kind of in the zone. I really enjoyed doing it. We all were on Little House. Everybody was really in the zone, just going, yes, I know what I'm doing. And everyone was so good. And we all just kind of ran riot. And I went so far with Nellie that even now we're almost up to our 50th anniversary. People still come up to me and they still say, you make me so mad. I want to reach to the television and punch you. And I've done a heck of a job then.
Yes, you have. Cissy, now you've guest starred on many classic TV shows, from Heart to Heart, Quincy, Matlock, and of course the Waltons. Any of your fellow co-stars stick out that you can remember and that you really enjoyed working with?
Boy, I was really lucky because I really enjoyed working with everybody that I've worked with. The Waltons, of course, was probably the warmest set ever. And, but working, doing Heart to Heart with R.J. Wagner and Stephanie was because they were also friends. And that was a joy. I've been blessed because I've played a lot of different roles. I mean, you know, it's, I have to say Klugman was probably one of my favorites when I guest starred on Quincy. I loved working with Jack Klugman. He was just great, funny, wonderful, a professional. We had fun. And, you know, working with Clint Eastwood, you know, I've been very lucky with the people I've worked with. And of course, my favorite is Robert Donner. You know, you can't beat that for having, you know, talk about being a funny guy who is bright, an avid reader, and an all-around good guy. I mean, just was one of the best. Because, you know, I was brought up in a very showbiz family, so it was, Donner was so funny because when we first got together, we did The Disorderly Orderly together with Jerry Lewis. That's how Donner and I met. We were on that for 12 weeks. And that's when it started. And I really stopped doing a lot of stuff to work his career, get it going, because he was just too darn good and too funny. So that's pretty much it. But I've been blessed with all the people I've worked with. I could tell you one that I didn't like, but I don't want to do that.
Oh, positive. But definitely when we're off camera, can you share that? Being a Hollywood guy, I would love to know who that was.
JB is his initials.
Elizabeth was everybody's favorite little sister. This is the cutest little kid on TV. And it really seemed like you all were family. And it's still, you know, when we saw you all together last year at the festival, you guys get together and it's just like without a hitch. It's like it picks up right where it left off. So let's talk.
Wait, Richard, real quick, can I tell you that Cammie was so much fun because she played my attorney in one of the last shows when Yancey and I were talking about divorcing, but she brought us back together.
Well, let's talk about that, and let's talk about that family unit in the Waltons, and especially your TV parents, because they were America's parents, really. So talk about that a little bit.
I just think, I mean, I don't know exactly how it happened, that somehow Earl Hamner managed to cast people who really could become a family. We spent more time together than most families actually get to spend together, you know, because we were together at least 8 hours a day for us who were kids and longer for the adults. And we were together over years. So it looks like a family because it felt like a family. I can always relate to people who were the babies in their families because I was the baby on the set. So the kinds of being spoiled and being protected and being teased, all that happened to me. And then I'd go home to my real family, and I was the eldest at home. So I somehow had both experiences of being both the baby and the oldest. Because it was like I absolutely had two families then, and I still really do. We keep in touch. We actually were planning to all get together, some of the kids for a Zoom, dinner and perhaps cocktail. So I think the energy that you see came from our relationships. It came from the fact that the adults we worked with were talented and professional, generally had a theater background, so they really valued that sense of ensemble and everyone working together and being really authentic to the work and the story. And that just set the tone.
Well, that's great. Lulu, tell us, working on Hee Haw, you had a lot of guest stars that graced that stage with you. Who is some of your favorites to work with on the show that were guest stars?
My favorite was Sammy Davis Jr. I had the best time with him. He came in and just had rings on all his fingers. And while we were in the cornfield popping up and down, I was taking those rings off of him and putting them in my zip and my overall and just come standing there. And eventually went, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to get them back. But I had fun taking the rings off of him. There were unbelievable, wonderful people. You know, this year was 50 years Hee Haw would be celebrating.
Wow.
And we had at that time some of the greatest up and coming new stars that went on to be major, people in the country music industry. And it's great. I've been living in Nashville now for almost 50 years. And have just got the greatest friendships and get to spend time, with people I worked with, all those years ago. And still every now and then we do things together, and it's wonderful. It is wonderful to get to see people get married, people have babies, you lose people, you do. We've lost a lot of our people. And one of my sons passed away last year. And just people who are so close to you and so loving and caring. And for me, that's been really, really deep and poignant because I'm an orphan. I grew up in an orphanage. So to have had and still have a lot of those people in my life for friends has just been, it's been great. It's been joy. It's been comfort. It's just been, it's been a blessing from the Lord. It has.
Lou, how do you think country music has changed now compared to how it was when
I don't think country music is country music anymore. I don't. We had country music on Hee Haw. We did. Nowadays, I'm not sure what you would call it. I catch some things that sound like country music every now and then, more so from the people who've been with us for, 50 years or so, or 30 years or whatever. But, the old country and Western music was people like Roy Acuff,
Yeah.
Those were the people who started that foot stomping on the Grand Ole Opry stage, and it went on from there. And we've got some great musicians and some great singers out there now, but I don't think they're so driven by the country undertow that there was, back in the 60s, 70s,
Dreama, if anybody ever embraced their character, it was Bob. Tell us, did he ever feel kind of let down or sad that that he couldn't really ever shake the red shirt and the white hat? I mean, he really, I got to meet him once, and he was as nice as you said he was, and I was just a kid, and I was just happy to meet the guy that was stuck on the island, and I was just happy that he got off that island. It was like America. I really thought that they were on an island somewhere. So, did that ever bother him that he was almost had that typecast as the guy with the red shirt, the crazy guy?
I think initially it did. He had a series before Gilligan, The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. That's like 60 years ago, where he was the breakout character, kind of like the Fonzie of that era of television. With the character of Maynard. And then, of course, from that, because he was so popular in that show, he went on to have his choice of series after that. So he chose Gilligan. Always said he had the best of both worlds, because with Maynard, he was able to do word comedy written by the great Max Shulman, you guys know, prolific writer, and Bob was happy to be able to say his words. And then with Gilligan, he got to do physical comedy. But with Gilligan, you're right. He was so typecast that, I don't know, I think he was like 32 or 33 when that series ended, and everything after that they offered him. He had 3 other series. He had a series called The Good Guys, same kind of character. He had a series called Dusty's Trail, which was literally Gilligan's Island on a stagecoach in the West. And then he had a Saturday morning series called Far Out Space Nuts. And he just couldn't break the Gilligan thing. But I'll tell you, when the internet started and email started and all of that, and snail mail too, he would get the most amazing letters from people saying that they had grown up in an abusive situation, or that their father had been a drunk and beat them or molested them, and that Gilligan's Island was their half hour, or later on, sometimes an hour, or even 2 hours rerunning. That was their escape. And as he started reading those letters, he said, you know what? If this is what I'm known for, if this is what I was able to do in my life, to give something to people who were in dire need of something in a situation that I could never have imagined, he said, I'm happy I was typecast. I'm happy I did it. So, yeah, he railed against it as a young actor, but he came to accept it, because really, how many people have 2 famous characters? I mean, that, especially in the earlier days of TV, that were really well known.
Yeah. Tammy and Cami, you both did an amazing job on the Waltons, and had a great opportunity to be on such an amazing classic American wholesome show. But you
Right.
to go another route in life and do another amazing thing. Several, but Cami becoming an educator, and then Tammy becoming a registered nurse, amongst other things, and an author and everything. So tell us, Cami, what kind of led you to your present career?
I think I was really fortunate the way things timed out. The show ended when I was about 16, 17, and I ended up going off to college a year early. And I think on some level, going into education was like getting a grown-up job. In my mind, acting was this thing you did as a child, and it seems like such a different thing to do as a grown-up. As a child, you get to play, especially if you're on a set, like the Waltons, with animals and trees and Will Gear and, just fun people around. And you're able to entertain yourself. And as an adult, I actually think most adults would find acting on a TV set pretty boring. It's mostly waiting. And then you get to act in little short bursts, and then you have to wait some more. And it's quite unnatural. And it was easy for me to transition away to something else that felt never boring. And I always say, with teaching or running a school or working with educators, there's always something new. There's always something different. Kids are amazing and really fulfilling, and you can feel really certain at the end of a long day's work that you've done something that's worth doing. And I'm never bored. I'm constantly amazed, and I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly having to figure out how to do it better. And I can't really think of a better career in terms of that. And apparently I'm an essential worker. I didn't really know that until this disease turned loose, but I'm still working, and our schools are still finding a way to educate, and our teachers have been phenomenal. Like the resourcefulness and the creativity of, like, our program, it's environmental charter school. So our program is interdisciplinary, it's outdoors, it's project-based, it's collaborative. So it's as far away from online education as you can possibly get. And within about 72 hours, these teachers and our principals figured out a way to take all of the cool things, or most of the cool things we do, and still bring them to our kids. And most of our kids are low-income kids of color, and they're in situations where a lot of their parents have lost their jobs, and they're dependent on us to feed them and support them and connect them with resources. So it's been busy, but meaningful.
Bravo to you.
Awesome.
How do you think, as an educator, how do you think this is going to affect kids across the board, all of our children across the board, and in their progression for next year and the year after?
It's such a hard question. And I think the only truthful answer is we have no idea. There are some, I mean, kids are all different, right? I have a different perspective because I learned on a set. So I'm accustomed to only going to school for 3 hours a day. And having my education interrupted because I'm running back and forth to the set. So I think I'm a little less worried than a lot of our teachers because kids are resilient. And I feel like if you give them opportunities to learn, they'll find ways to learn. But I think I worry more about isolation, like kids being stuck alone and losing their routines when they're dependent on routine. But I don't think we have any idea how it's going to impact kids' learning. I think we have some really interesting challenges ahead for us in the next year or two, both in dealing with the virus and changes to schedules depending on what happens next, and also trying to help kids transition back to learning and back to routines, and having to also cope with the reduced funding that we're anticipating. So it's going to be challenging, but kids are resilient, and if you love them and bring them rich experiences, they will find a way to blossom.
Tammy, if anybody's ever on the front line, it's you. So
Not Tammy.
tell us about that transition from acting to working in your present profession.
Well, it's interesting because I went to school to be a nurse because I heard about this thing called registry, which meant that I didn't have to work anywhere permanently. I could just be an actress, and then when I didn't have a job as an actress, I could work a day or two as a nurse through registry. But when I went to school, I found out something else. I found out that I really loved it. I found out that, as Cammie mentioned, there's a lot of time sitting around doing nothing on a set, and that was one of the things that drove me crazy. In all the different roles I had, I did that. I spent more time sitting and waiting to act, except the Waltons, because I had fun there. I mean, I wasn't just sitting waiting, I was visiting, it was like family. So when I went to nursing school, it was something that I could do along with acting. What ended up happening, did you hear I live on a busy street. Did you just hear that? So what ended up happening is I realized that I really loved nursing, and I was really good at it. And I spent 10 years in critical care, and I spent 20 years in emergency department. I was in the emergency department through the H1N1. I was through the Ebola scare, which was only a scare. I worked in a trauma center. And never boring, as Cammie said, there's always a new challenge in nursing as well. Every day is different in an ER. And I just got caught up in it. I'm done now. I just retired, and the timing is kind of incredible that I retired. But the last day I worked, I felt like I got beat up. I felt like from head to toe, I had been hit by a truck. And I couldn't believe the excellent timing that God had provided for me to have everything in place so that I could retire. But I'm still there supporting my friends, my coworkers. I'm asking people to be careful, to be smart right now, not to overwhelm the hospitals. I know it's really, really hard not to have visitors, and I certainly would never want to get sick and have to go into a hospital where I couldn't have a visitor, I couldn't have a family member. I think that would be the most difficult thing to do. And I wonder about, there was women going in to have babies, having in labor without their spouse. These kinds of things are the psychological and emotional impact. You know, nursing isn't just about physical stuff. It's about spiritual, mental, physical, the whole person. So there's a lot to consider with our current challenge in the healthcare industry, and it's mostly about people. And I think that we all need to be responsible, that we can take care of each other. Taking care of each other is the main challenge that we're faced with now in the world.
Yeah, I everybody would agree. Allison, can you tell us, let's talk a little bit about Michael Landon and what he was like.
Well, Michael Landon was an amazing person because, remember, he wasn't just starring the show. He was writing the show. He was directing the show. He was producing the show. He did everything. And he was so incredible. And he was the one, he decided to do Little House. He could have done anything he wanted. He's just come off Bonanza and was, you know, the gorgeous little Joe. So he sort of had his pick, but he absolutely insisted. He decided he wanted to be Charles Ingalls. And they're so like, we can't be Charles Ingalls, you don't have a beard. But he said, no, I want to do Little House on the Prairie. So he's very, very, very driven. You know, I met Carol Spinney, the guy who was Big Bird, and Oscar the Grouch in an airport. We were talking, and we were talking about Jim Henson. And you know how Jim Henson was very driven, would call people 3 a.m. I have a new idea for a show. We're doing a thing. And we compared notes because Carol was fascinated by Michael Landon. I was fascinated by Jim Henson. And we compared notes, and he said, I think these two guys were brothers or something. So Michael had that kind of creative cuckoo drive. We'd be filming something, and he'd be writing the next episode. Well, when I married Percival, fabulous, when Nellie finally married Percival, it got nice. So I'm in makeup, and Michael comes running in and says, so, okay, you're getting married, and like runs out of the room. Is going on. And then he comes in, you're getting married, and it's a short guy, and he's Jewish, and he doesn't take anything off of Mrs. Olsen or anything, and he runs out of the room. And he's coming back and giving me like highlights of this episode, and then running out of the room. I'm like, what is happening? And finally I walk by, and he's sitting in his dressing room with the yellow legal pads and the pencils and script. I said, you're writing this right now, aren't you? Yes. Aren't we filming that in like a week or two? Oh, yeah, in 2 weeks, it'll be done. So it was this constant thing. And sometimes we'd be filming and you have an idea and go, what if we did this and just completely change things up in the scene? We cast all the people. He cast me. He cast, you know, Catherine McGregor and Richard Bolle, who played the Olsons. The chemistry between the actors was astounding. And some of the people had come up through Bonanza, but some of them were complete unknowns, were not people that were known to the television audience. And he saw that they were perfect and would be perfect together. So it was this mad genius thing going on, and very hard worker, taskmaster and all that, but the most demented sense of humor of anyone I have ever worked with in my life. Practical jokes, dumb humor, and childish humor, which is great. That's why he got along with all the kids. I mean, he had like 9 kids himself. He got along with the children because he had absolutely the sense of humor of a 12-year-old boy. And it was hilarious to be on that set. So we were like, go from 4 a.m. and cranking out the episode. And then he was like doing stupid jokes and we were screaming with laughter the next minute. So yeah, it was an unbelievable environment to work in and to grow up. I mean, I was there for 7 years. And absolutely unheard of. And everyone who worked there had the same thing, that when we went off and worked on other shows, we're like, oh, this is not the same at all, is it? This is like, it was so different than any other show.
Cissy, another driven Hollywood legend you got to work with, has put out roughly about one movie a year for the last 54 years, and that was Clint Eastwood. So can you tell us what he was like as a director and actor, having started with him in The Outlaw Josie Wales?
Well, Clint, we were all good friends because he and Donner and Yancey were best friends when they were nobody. And we used to hang with Clint and his then wife Maggie, dear Donner and I. And you know, he just has a very sick sense of humor, I call it. He's very dry. And you know, we play in his tennis tournaments and do all the things. Working with him as a director, as an actor, was great, because I love working with directors that have been actors, because they really get us. And Clint did everything on Outlaw Josie Wales, a lot of handheld camera work and running, but he would listen to things. Every time he'd do a film, I helped him cast, play Misty for me, which I also did with him. And I suggested Jessica Walter, and he would say, well, why, what should I see? What has she been? I said, see the group. And he saw it, and Jessica did it. And then he called me, he says, I'm doing Dirty Harry, and I need 3 young cops that are all American, but they're the heavies. Who'd you? So I suggested Timmy Matheson and David Soul, and because I had just seen them, and Clint did it. I mean, he would also ask him, I'd say, it's long, Clint, The Outlaw Josie Wales. There was a huge, long scene with the family, with Clint, myself, and his son, who was really his son. And it wasn't needed. And at the end, I said, you cut it out. You don't, you know, it's like, it's awful long, the movie. And he said, what would you cut? I said, that you don't need it. You've already got the wife and I wish I had known what I had suggested, because I would love to have that piece of film. But he was delicious to work with. He was, he's very loyal. He's a very loyal human being to everybody. Yeah.
Rima, you got to do an episode of Gilligan's Island. I think it was the Harlem Globetrotters episode, which was a really fun episode that we all remember really well. So tell us what that set was like, because I knew Sherwood Schwartz pretty well, and he would told me some great funny stories about it. So tell us what that set was like there at the CBS Ranch down there in the valley.
Well, it's become almost a cult favorite. You know, it was one of those it's so bad it's good kind of things. It was the whole script had been written around Jim Backus, and Jim was sick at the time and was unable to do it. So suddenly the Howells had a son named Thurston Howell IV, played by David Ruprecht, who was absolutely wonderful at doing Jim Backus. And actually it was a 2-hour TV movie, since it all revolved around Jim, it was sort of a up in the air kind of thing. The Harlem Globetrotters, who obviously crash land on the island, and after the hotel is built and all of that, they weren't meant to act because they're not actors, but because of the way the script went down and everything fell into place, they ended up having to do a lot more acting than they had anticipated doing, and we ended up having to play basketball, which was kind of fun. But you guys, it was the Harlem Globetrotters, like Geese and Curly and Meadowlark and all the, no offense, no disrespect to the current Globetrotters, but these were the guys, you know? So just to be able to be around them and to interact with them for 6 to 8 weeks, however long it took us to make that 2-hour movie, was just so much fun. And really a blessing to all of us. We just all had the best time.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. So, okay, so tell us about the foundation, a little bit about the
Denver Foundation. Well, Bob and I established the foundation before he passed away. He passed away 15 years ago in honor of our son. Bob and I in 2004. In 1984, we had a son who was diagnosed with severe autism. And so that sort of ended my acting and really put a chink in Bob's acting, because what he ended up doing with no discussion was staying home with me. We did full-time care, the two of us, for almost 21 years until Bob passed away. And of course he would do personal appearances and things because somebody had to bring home the bacon. But basically, this is what I want people to know about him who just know him as Gilligan, because he was such an amazing father and an amazing husband to me. And he was there with me through all of it for over 2 decades. That's a long time to do it 24/7. And so we knew firsthand what it was like to deal with the emotional, financial, physical drain of having a person in your life who needs full-time care. So we wanted the foundation to be able to help people. That's why we started Little Buddy Radio. I don't know if you guys know about that, but I have a radio station that is nonprofit, and all that's generated by the radio station and the sponsorships goes into the Denver Foundation. And we try to, I'm here in West Virginia. The foundation is still small, but we have tried to, fulfill needs like iPads for autistic children or adults, even for communication and things that we have been able to afford to do, we have tried to do. And it's been my mission. When he passed away 15 years ago, it became my mission to make sure that I tried to finish everything that we started. So Little Buddy Radio is still going strong and the foundation still exists. And my husband gave me 20 years ago an idea for a children's book. He thought I could write one and gave me a title and said, I want you to write this children's book. And 20 years later, here it is. And it's won 3 awards. It was supposed to come out in March, big hoopla in March. And of course, everything got canceled, Chicago and Houston and all these places. So I am so proud of this. Inside this book are his original pencil sketches of how he envisioned the bears, 4 bears in a box. Is that coming across so you can read it?
Yeah, we
Okay.
see.
It's not backward. And it was his title, and I took the challenge on, and I'm happy to say that, people seem to really like it. So it's a real blessing to me to have done that for him. So
We have the Denver Foundation, and we have 4 Bears in a Box and a Little Buddy Radio. So those are
Little Buddy Radio. And I also, not to heart, but this is really important too. I know we all appreciate and love our veterans. And in the state of West Virginia, I founded what we call Always Free Honor Flight, where we honor our World War II, Korea, and Vietnam veterans with free trips to Washington, D.C. to see the memorials built to honor their service. And I am so, Honor Flight is something, it's so gratifying in ways I can't even explain, to be able to hang out with these heroes and hear their stories and be one-on-one. I do a lot of work with veterans, and I think Bob would be proud of that too. So Always Free Honor Flight, top of my list.
I spent many days at Reagan National Airport greeting honor flights as they came in as an active duty Air Force guy. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you for your service. And isn't it amazing? Honor Flight is amazing. You can't verbalize what it feels like to be part of that.
Yeah, and the veterans really appreciate it. I know, getting off the airplane, when you see them getting off the airplane and we're all standing there in the terminal clapping for them, they love it. They really do. And it means so much to them. And then we would go out and go to the memorial and give them tours and listen to the stories. And now I've become one of those old retiree guys that are telling stories to folks. And I always, I always laugh because I would sit next to the retiree on board the airplane and listen to all his war stories. And guess what? I'm that guy now.
Now you have the war stories. There are no thanks big enough, in my opinion, for our veterans. This is such a small thing to do, but I have found, especially with the World War II veterans, I love all of our veterans, but the World War II guys, they are the greatest generation. They are grateful and humble. And the fact that you would do something to, you know, recognize them or bring them any kind of honor is just, they cry. They literally do stand there in front of you and cry, thanking you. And it is so moving. It's just so moving. I would advise everybody, if you get a chance to, you know, be part of Honor Flight, wherever it is, in some way or form, do it, because it really is an amazing experience.
Well, Lulu, the world situation has affected all of us, and I know it's certainly affected you because I know one of your loves is to perform and to sing. And my question to you is, how are you getting that vice out? Are you singing around the house, and are you performing on Sunday? Tell me what you're doing.
At this point, I sing for my puppies. And speaking of, let me hawk myself here. I have a brand new book.
Go ahead, tell us.
This is my story. And it's an autobiography about from the time I was born in a home for unwed mothers. And shortly after that, I was dropped off in an orphan's home. And I spent pretty much my entire childhood in an orphan's home. I was 2 when I was taken there, and I had to stay until I graduated. So until I was 18. And that's the story of that. And then how, you know, he all came to be and how things have gone, you know, since then. And we've still got a couple of concerts on the book. They, as this thing progresses, they seem to be the ones that we've lost have rebooked into the next year, so that's a good thing. But yeah, I'm a road hog, honey. I am. I miss being on the road. I miss getting to talk to people. I miss getting to sing. You know, it's my life. It is, and I love it. I love to talk to people. I love to sing. I think I love to talk more than I love to sing, even. It makes you smarter when you feel like you're taking it. You know? And I've met so many incredible, remarkable people in my life, moving through and doing what I'm doing. You know, I give my personal testimonies, what I do. Go to churches and women's events and like little theater things. And, you know, I mean, I travel, goodness, probably almost every weekend of the year, you know, generally.
I've watched some of your live Facebook feeds and concerts that Kim has taped for you. So I've watched them and your stories, and they're inspiring and emotional and heart all together and entertaining all together. So, another entertaining lady, Allison, tell us, you know, you wrote that great book, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, and you took it on in one woman show. And so with that, obviously, hopefully we can carry on. And after all this is said and done, you can continue with that. But what are you working on now? And what do you have planned for the future?
Well, like Lulu, I'm a road hog. I'm normally on tour. I'll be on a plane tomorrow coming out to the Cherry Blossom Festival. I was just on tour January and February. I was in France doing my show over there. I do a live show there. And then I managed to squeak out one autograph show in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And then it's like, boom, that's it. And then I watched my whole calendar go blank. And I'm normally on a plane. I'm normally out speaking or doing stand-up or doing theater or doing a person. All my work involves large crowds of people. And so I was like, oops, what do I do? And for the first week, I thought I would go mad. And then I said, well, wait, I'm very lucky. My husband's an essential employee, construction infrastructure. So we're good. But I said, well, I think I'm going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to read The Little House in the Prairie books. You know, the Laura Ingalls book, start at the read Little House in the Big Woods. And then I thought, well, wait, other people are bored. I'll go on Facebook. I've been reading 2 chapters a day of Little House in the Prairie, all of Laura's books in order, every day on Facebook at 1:30 while wearing a bonnet. I have bonnets, and I'm going in. I got like 20,000 views, 60,000 views. People are going insane watching this. So that's really fun. So now things have come of it. I've been doing those kooky cameo greetings where people have a celebrity do a happy birthday for someone. I'm doing a lot of interviews like this. And now I can proudly say I had a gig May 9th. I was going to go to New York. I was going to do my show. Still doing the show May 9th over there in that part of the living room. What we're doing is Spin Cycle New York that produced the show in New York, spincyclenyc.com, partner with a group called Stage It. And it's yet another one of these platforms. Got your Zoom and your thing and your Skype and whatnot. Stage It. And I will be setting up the camera in this part of the room, and we'll be doing a shortened version, it's like half hour. It's called Confessions of a Prairie Terror. It's going to be May 9th. We do another one on May 16th, and it will be live, and people can sign and get tickets, and I'll be in your living room doing my show. And I'm so happy because it's like, oh, look, the show must go on, and it shall, even it'll be internet and in your living room. So that's pretty. Thank heavens for all this crazy technology, so people like us can still communicate and bond with our fans and still talk to everybody and do shows. It's really nice, and I think our fans at home who miss us and go, well, what am I going to do? I was going to go meet her at this thing, and I want to talk to her. But now we can all come on here and go, hi, I'm here. Talk to me. It's fine. I'm going to take questions. I already got a thing like, send me your questions. I'll answer them during the show. So I'm really relieved that we have this so that we can do this during this time when everyone is, traumatized and bored at the same time. It's, it's a rough period.
Yeah. Tammy, tell us a little bit about your book. We talked about it in the beginning. And so tell us a little bit about
Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, you can see it. Okay, good. My book was inspired by a patient who told me his love story. He told me his love story, and he told me he wanted me to write it. And it was so odd because I wasn't really listening to his story very well, but I was trying to listen while I was in an ER taking care of 5 other people and going in and out. I got his story. My knees collapsed a little bit when I did get to the end of it. I told him he should write a book. He told me, that's why I told you the story, and that's why I want you to write the book. And what ended up happening is that my whole career of being a nurse, there are so many amazing people that I've known, and some of them are World War II veterans. And so I took my patient's love story and set it in a World War II setting. And so I think I do some honor for all of these stories and put together some really special things that happened to me and my patients into my characters. So it's a historical novel, a historical fiction. It's a love story. It's about faith and fate and family and friendship. And the most perfect girl is perfect because she, the lady that this story was written about, is one of the best examples of other-centered love that anyone that I've ever heard, any story I've ever heard. This is an example of other-centered love, which is what I think we all aspire to have in our lives, and hopefully to be loving to others. So that's what it is.
Go to Amazon.
You can get it at Amazon, or you can write to me at reenchristy@gmail.com. Send me an email and I'll send you a signed book.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies, fun question. Item in your purse, not your phone. What's the item that you don't leave your house without?
Hand sanitizer.
Lulu?
Yes.
What's the one item that you can't leave your house without? When we can all leave our houses, what's that one item for your phone?
Probably my breather, my inhaler.
Amy, how about you?
Good one.
Coley, it's been so long since I've left my house. I needed my purse. If I have to go someplace with just a very tiny purse, which happens once a year, I probably bring a credit card.
How about you, Dream?
Good.
Dreamer, what about you?
I carry really small purses with not much in them. I guess I would have to say car keys, because where could I go if I didn't have those? So
Okay.
that's boring, right? Gotta think of something better.
What do you bring in without leaving your house, when you're leaving your house? Cissy?
Oh, me. Hi. I'm thinking. I think it's probably my brain. No. Probably. I also do a very little teeny purse. So it's literally the keys, the wallet, the phone, which everybody else said. And of course, my lip gloss. That's it.
Somebody to say lip gloss. One of the
Lip
ladies
gloss.
for one of you to say lip gloss, and what do you not leave home without?
I carry a huge purse. I'm like those women on the old Let's Make a Deal show where they would ask them, "Do you have one of these in your purse?" Yes, I do. I have a toaster. I have everything in there. Now, of course, I got the hand sanitizer and the wipes and the mask and the gloves. And I always say the keys. You know what I always have in my purse? I have a flashlight. I have a small flashlight, because you don't know. It's amazing. You find yourself, you wind up staying somewhere till after dark. You go to the car. Oh, there's no street lights. Or you're at a meeting in a building and, oh, the power just went out. And I cannot tell you how many bizarre situations I found myself in where suddenly it's pitch dark or I have to look for something. And so I'm now the person who pulls out the flashlight that I just magically happen to have in my bag. But yeah, no, I'm a kook. There's like first aid in there. There's snacks. There's gum. It's a Let's Make a Deal purse. I have everything.
Well, I was trying to think of a fun question to ask today, and I came up with that question because I was cleaning my car out this afternoon, and as I reached under the seat, I found one of my flight caps. And of course, I just retired from the Air Force in July, and that hat has been in my car for the last 27 years. Been in the Air Force. So there has been some form of hat in my car that I've never left without. And so that's where I came up with the idea. I've always had a hat. And to answer the question, if any of you are going to ask, I left it under the seat. I didn't have the heart to take it out yet. I'm not there yet. Right. Well, ladies, this has been amazing. I mean, it would only be better if we were all.
Richard, can I do a quick plug for my kids?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, because you guys, I have a nonprofit that's called Born to Act Players, and they're with Down syndrome, autism, and special abilities. And we've been doing Zoom meetings. That's the good news, because there are 35 of them. So, yeah, I get it. And that's when you talked about your son, that just touched my heart. So, God bless. Yeah, thank you.
Ladies, it can only be any better if we were all together in Missouri. The town that we love the most right now. But
Well, Richard, I have one. Hello?
Go ahead, you're on.
Yeah, I almost forgot this, but I would have been in big trouble. Just look for us, kind of out of the corner of your eye, your newspaper. We're on the road again. We've got a show called Remembering Hee Haw, and we are on the road. So we could be coming to your town or your city, or it's called Remembering Hee Haw.
Tammy, we didn't, besides the school, I mean, can folks go there and donate anything, or is the school is in need of anything, or is there any foundations that you support that we can plug for you?
I suppose the schools are where my energy is focused. So environmental charter schools, and if you want to learn more about it, if you're a fabulously talented teacher, we're always looking for great people. And if you're interested in giving and helping to support the work we do, the next couple of years, we're probably going to be doing it with way less resource than we're accustomed to. And it's environmental charter schools. And you can go to ecsonline.org and learn more about us.
Sounds good. Well, we hope to see all of you next year at the 15th annual live Missouri Cherry Blossom Festival in Marshfield, God willing. And so it would be great to have you all there and do this all again and do this live and in person, and so you can see everybody. So thanks, ladies. I really appreciate it. I know the audience really appreciates it. And
Thank you.
Guys, so
Thank
much.
you.
I
Blessings
want to
to
meet you
all.
for real.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Wash your hands. Wash
Stay
your hands.
safe. Don't touch your face. Don't touch your face.
My face all the
I
way
know,
around.
me too. Me too.
Don't let anyone breathe on you.
Scratch.
Probably during this,
Washing.
I'm sitting
Yes,
like this.
yes.
Wear
Yes.
a lot of hand washing.
And I got 2 movies coming out that you guys got to see.
oh, you have 2 movies coming?
Yeah.
Oh.
One on Amazon that'll be coming up on Amazon, and then a little independent film that's in post-production right now. So they're both coming out in their wonderful roles, and one's a really demented lady. Oh, and the other one is a nice one.
Amazon. What is everybody?
Oh, I bet that was fun.
What are you guys watching on TV now?
I'm watching Homeland.
TCM.
I'm probably late to the party, but I am visiting on that one. Pretty good.
What are you watching?
Chicago PD.
Yeah, NCIS.
Oh, yeah. All the Chicagos.
All
All
the
the
Chicago.
Chicagos.
Yes. Yeah.
Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard.
And TCM. All the Turner
We're
classic.
growing up.
Yeah.
All the Turner classic movies.
Yeah. I'm on
Yeah.
PBS watching Bletchley Park right now. Bletchley Park. Very good. Very good.
I love it. Thank you all.
In closing, we'd like to thank all of you again for watching, and we'd like to encourage you to stay connected to the Cherry Blossom Festival through our Facebook page and website. Our Facebook page is Missouri Cherry Blossom Festival in Marshfield, Mo, and our website is cherryblossomfest.com. There you'll find more panels and interviews and pictures representing the best of American history. And we hope to see all of you here in Marshfield next year as we celebrate the 15th Cherry Blossom Festival.